Before we begin, the name is placed on the top right side of the screen. A child with golden hair yawns and opens her eyes, wondering when did she fall asleep. Suddenly, the screen of system appears in front of her, startling the hell out of her, making her screech. She looks at the screen with wide eyes, realizing she just mumbled do-da-da. Character's information is written on the screen, but there is no name. Rank is extra, and her fate is that on her 9th birthday, she will be horrifically murdered by her father. The child, surprised, wonders what on earth is this? Just a moment ago, she was simply playing a mobile game. Because she rolled the dice wrong at the start, she ended up with the lowest ranked extra character. She was in the middle of upgrading the dice to level 9, spending her entire salary. Now being in a child's body, she wonders could this really be the dimensional transfer she has only heard about. She thinks getting hit with this out of nowhere while gaming. What kind of disaster is this? Shock registers over her when she realizes she is destined to die at her father's hands. She thinks that even if she is just a nameless extra, this is too much. Why does she have to suffer such an unlucky fate? That is when a maid rushes to her, saying, "Why is their lady crying like this?" and asking if she's hungry. She looks up with her tear-filled gaze at the woman, wondering who is she. The maid gently picks her up in her arms and tells her to wait a moment. Madame Heiress will soon come to her. The child finds her arms very warm and comforting. She realizes this really is not her dream, it's reality. But then suddenly the atmosphere shifts when it dawns on her she is destined to die at 9 in this world. She is unable to believe it and wants somebody to save her. The poor child just wishes to wake up and hear it was all just a dream, she tells herself, but that kind of miracle is not going to happen. She finally stays fine. She will accept it if it's come to this. She might as well try to live her second life well, and to see if she summarizes what she has heard so far. First, she is the only daughter of a wealthy noble family. It is a relief for her that she's not from one of those high-ranking broke noble families. Second, her parents have no interest in her. It does not seem like they are interested in much of anything around them, not just her. She thinks that is fine, as that will make escaping easier when the time comes. The third and most important thing, this is the world inside the game. The game she entered is called Reincarnation Life Decided by Dice. For short, it's a mobile game based on the novel The Heroes of Helios. You roll a dice to select one of the novel's characters to make decisions through choices that pop up at every branching point. Characters are ranked based on their importance in the original story. Starting from a lowly 1-star extra, there are 5 ranks up to a 5-star protagonist who plays a leading role, and her rank is 1-star extra. Their rank is one thing, but it would be better if she at least knew she was. She ponders over how it has been a week since she entered the game and her name still hasn't appeared. Given her fate, she can understand why her father has no interest in her, but the fact that even her mother hasn't shown her face once forces her to think maybe this is one of those typical settings where the father is cold. But then decides not to jump to conclusions when nothing is certain yet. She thinks it is fine if they do not care about her. They should just hurry her and give her a name already. That way she can come up with a plan to overcome this crappy fate. Exhaustion takes over her body, and she thinks maybe it's because she's a baby, but she's already feeling sleepy. She decides to think about the rest after she wakes up, as this is all an investment for her future anyway. With Eris's help, she lets out a burp, convinced she's full after finishing her meal. Then she looks around, realizing everyone seems busy today and wonders if something is going on. As Eris places her on her cot, she states they have to finish renovating the young lady's room by tomorrow, and if they can finish it all by today. This surprises her. She wonders why they are renovating her room. The maid asks Madame Heiress if they should move the jeweled goblet somewhere else. Iris replies no, they should leave everything in the display cabinet as it is, and that the young lady seems to like it. The maid giggles and says that doesn't make sense. Does she think a young lady who isn't even 3 months old yet could notice and like something like this? Iris counters, has she ever seen her talk nonsense? Their young lady isn't just smart, she's extraordinary. She points out whenever she has the chance, she glances around with sparkling eyes brimming with intelligence. This startles our female protagonist, who thinks she will have to be more convincing at pretending to be a baby from now on. She thinks, by the way, she knew she was tiny, but she's not even 3 months old. That's when the system pops up saying the conditions have been met and access restrictions are lifted. There are some additions in the character's information. She is 2 months old. She realizes her gender and age have been added and the information window has changed to an extra version. However, she cannot help but think, shouldn't it at least show a stat window as well? She urges the system to show her abilities. However, it won't show up either. She thinks if she ended up in this body because of the 1-star extra she rolled at the start, what about the enhanced dice she upgraded with all the money? Where did that go? She is mad because she spent so much money on that, and now that she thinks about it, did not a weird pop-up show up toward the end of the last upgrade? She remembers the warning that +9 dice will guide her to another world. She thinks no way did upgrading the dice somehow lead to this fate. A dimensional transfer because of a level 9 dice buff. She scoffs, what kind of nonsense is this? And if a level 9 dice upgrade cost a dimensional transfer, shouldn't she have been given a better fate? She wonders why does she have to die at 9 years old? But then she tells herself to calm down. Getting angry over what's already happened is only going to hurt her. She reminds herself mental strength determines fate, and then she smiles like a happy child and thinks, let's think positively. And the dice buff, it's probably difficult to check because she's still a baby and surely she'll be able to change her rank or fate just like in the game. And even though she is a 1-star extra with a terrible fate, she believes if she sets that aside, it's not that bad, right? She smiles, thinking she has money, jewels, and everything nice, while the maid mumbles to Iris that it's a problem the message came so late, and if they will be able to finish the preparation before the master returns. This shocks her when she realizes the owner of this mansion is coming back. The maid reminds Iris they do not have enough time. Iris agrees it is true the message was late, but still they have to finish everything before he arrives. She then looks at the maid and with a smile points out if she has time to chat. Wouldn't it be better to mop the floor one more time? She points out even when Iris is talking, her hands never stop moving. Iris laughs and says of course things are tight, so naturally they have to keep working. Our female protagonist realizes the reason she hasn't seen her around lately is because she was not at the mansion. She thinks this is better for her as based on all the information she's gotten so far. It's clear they have no interest in her, so she can just live quietly like hair and slip away unnoticed. Iris mumbles almost to herself that if she neglects the young lady even a little, the master will scold her. But the maid listens and freezes in her spot, fear rolling off her in waves. She gently smiles at Uren and states she is joking and not to be scared so much. The maid looks relieved and shoots back. Doesn't she know when to joke around? But she further teases, thanks to that, she came back to her senses. Suddenly something dawns on the child. She realizes now that she thinks about it, she can change her fate. But there's no guarantee it'll go the way she wants it to, right? Paranoia takes over her as she wonders what if the crazy father of her kills her before she even turns 9. She starts to get rid of her tension by reminding herself she has the level 9 dice she paid for and she will be fine. She will definitely make it work. If she meets the game developer, she's not going to let them get away with this. Sensing her movements, the maid turns around and smiles at her, realizing she's awake. Iris takes her in her arms. Uren smiles at her and says she seems to be in a better mood than usual today. The child thinks, well, that is because all the precious items are more visible today. As expected, money is the best. It's new, and it's always thrilling. Suddenly, a maid barges in, prompting Iris to ask. She did not knock before entering the lady's room. Serena, who's panting for breath, apologizes but points out she has a message from the head maid. She stammers while she conveys the young master just returned. Our female protagonist's blood runs cold. She thinks it has only been 2 days since the message came and he's already back. Why did he arrive so quickly? She panics as she is not mentally prepared to face the father who is going to kill her yet. The atmosphere in the room shifts. Iris blurts out to quickly finish up what they are all doing and she will go and meet the master. The color drains from the baby's face. She wonders he wouldn't come to see her right away, would he? Given how quickly he arrived, he must have some urgent matter to attend to, and tells herself that matter probably isn't about seeing the daughter whose name still hasn't been given. But maybe her luck sucks because the next moment, the door slowly creaks open. She closes her eyes thinking in moments like this she should stop thinking and sleep. But her eyes snap open with a jolt when something in the room shifts and everybody bows down and addresses their master. Requesting him to take off his armor first, a man with long red hair and with cold, sharp eyes stands before her, gazing at her, making her think so this person is her father. The Heroes of Helios is a story where the protagonist save the world from the evil Demon King. The Demon King controls the minds of monsters and beasts and sends them into the human world. To counter this, each nation forms a subjugation squad. As a result, all noble families that inherit the titles are obligated to participate in the subjugation. And from what she has heard, the family participating in the year's subjugation is none other than the family she was born into. As she realizes they are coming to see her, she is shocked and wonders why. For what reason? Were they not supposed to have no interest in their daughter? The poor child is not mentally prepared for this. Just then, a giant figure looms over her. Looking down at her, she realizes he is here. What catches her off guard is that he's way more handsome than she expected. She thought someone who could kill his own daughter with his own hands would look more terrifying. However, his vibe is definitely intense. He looks like someone who could take down a lion with his bare hands. She pales now that she notices he is glaring at her, wondering what did she do to deserve that. She is unable to understand that scary look in his eyes. She panics, thinking if he's already debating whether to kill her or not. But when he continues to make no movements and just stares at her, she wonders what is wrong with him. This won't do. In times like this, there's only one solution. With the ultimate cheat code of all babies in her mind, she opens her mouth wide but then closes it and sighs deeply, pretending to sleep. She thinks she's currently asleep. They should leave the sooner the better. Iris, keeping her head lowered, says it seems like the young lady is quite tired and perhaps he should change out of his armor for now. Iris' face pales when he asks is it common for babies this age to maintain eye contact with people. But she replies yes, at this age they are just starting to explore the world, so that behavior is normal. He asks even with someone like him. Iris points out isn't she a direct descendant of his grace, and it must be because they shared the same blood. He mockingly repeats because she shares his blood, huh? Our female protagonist thinks he's annoyed because she did not avoid his gaze. Alright then, from now on she'll never look him in the eyes. To her shock, he, however, gently lifts her up from the cot and gazes at her with intense eyes. She thinks if she just opens her eyes now, it's all over. She has to keep pretending to sleep. An involuntary burp escapes her, sharp and sudden. She forces herself to stay still, her body rigid as if pretending to be asleep. But inside, she's screaming. Why now, of all times? She could have held it in for 5 more minutes. No, even 1 minute would have been enough. She asks herself, he's not going to kill her just because she burped in his face, right? He then asks Iris, do babies burp even while they sleep? She prays to every god known to exist to save her. She tells him yes, it is quite common for babies to fall asleep while nursing, and if they pat their backs while they sleep, of course they will burp. She thinks as expected of her nanny, she is her true savior. He doesn't reply and continues to gaze at her, but then he places her gently on the cot and turns to leave. Iris asks him if he's heading to his room. He replies yes, but first she should take off this armor as she wisely suggested. When he leaves, the baby dares to ask herself, she's still alive, right? All the other maids release the breaths they were holding. One of them states she thinks she might start respecting Lady Iris now. The other one agrees because they're shocked. How can she stay so calm in a situation like that? Urine, however, looks at the young lady and mumbles she is glad she is safe. It does escape the female lead's notice of how Urine must have been scared too, yet she's worrying about her, now that she thinks of it. Father had golden eyes, and in the novel golden eyes are supposed to be rare. But it's been so long since she read it she cannot think of any specific character with them. She also thinks about how her nanny referred to Father as His Excellency. That title is only used for nobles with the rank of Marquis or higher in this world, so that means her father is at least a Marquis. She wonders, were there any novels with red hair and golden eyes among those of Marquis rank or higher? Now that she thinks about it, Windseeker and Claire are a part of the protagonist group, so obviously not them. Melton definitely is not. Lubac? Not them either. She really has no idea. It seems like it is a family that did not have much importance in the original story. She also thinks if it had been a significant family, she wouldn't be a mere 1-star extra, would she? She starts yawning and concludes her train of thoughts for now. Since Father has returned, he will probably give her a name soon. She decides once she has a name, she will figure out who she is and where this place is. For now, she should just sleep. The next day, her father left the estate again. This time it wasn't for a subjugation mission. He supposedly left for the capital to deliver the subjugation report. Normally he should have returned after the report, but for some reason he suddenly just came back to the estate. As Urine is dressing her up, she asks her what's got her so lost in thoughts. Instead of brooding, how about she give them a big bright smile? A huge smile lights up her face, gathering everyone's attention in the room. Urine giggles, saying how can their young lady be so angelic, and that her smile is truly lovely. At that moment she says she is really the spitting image of her mother. Eris suddenly screams at her, startling her. Realizing what she said, she blurts out an apology. Iris tells her it is a relief that Master isn't here and to be more careful from now on. She realizes it seems this character does not have a mother. She wonders if it could be that Father's not interested in her because of her mother. But that decides no way could this be one of those overused tropes where the father despises the child, blaming them for the death of his beloved wife during childbirth. But then decides he did not seem like that kind of person. Yurin's eyes suddenly look lifeless and tired, making the child nudge her with her tiny feet to get her attention, she thinks. But still, based on what Lady Iris said, there's definitely something between father and mother. She believes if she can figure it out, it might help her survive here. Yurin picks that up and hugs her. The other maid who is cleaning reminds them that the subjugation this year took longer than usual. Is that why the Master stopped by the state yesterday before heading back to the capital? A screen appears that the System Time of Choice event has been triggered, and that she still needs to meet the conditions to activate System Time of Choice. She gets lots of notifications on meeting the conditions to activate it. Right then, the child wakes up suddenly. She wonders was it a dream. Yurin asks her if she's alright, stating that she was groaning as if she was in pain, so Yurin got worried. The kid ponders that Yurin do not look well, and she's sorry that she troubles her. Yurin states that she must have had a nightmare, and she is glad she's not feeling unwell. Iris mentions that they need to inspect the room again by this afternoon. Yurin questions why all of a sudden. Iris responds that the Master is returning this evening. The kid ponders that she was so determined to prepare yesterday when he said he'd arrive, but he still has not shown up. She seems annoyed, thinking don't tell her he won't come today either. Right then, Lady Iris is informed that the Master is coming down. The kid wonders why, again, suddenly thinking that Father really does not match her pace. As the Master steps in and looks at her, she looks elsewhere, to which he mentions today she is avoiding eye contact. Iris states that babies are fickle like that. He does not seem very happy about it. Iris tells him that anyway, since the baby is born, they need to give her a name. Finally, after 3 months, they will hear the family name, and she hopes it will be a pretty name. He mentions that Vipro would be fitting. For a child of the family that survives by taking the lives of others, it is the perfect name. The kid ponders if he is serious, thinking, what is he even saying? He stares at her for a while, before the system appears that the Time of Choice event has been triggered. She wonders what is this now and why is everyone so quiet. She realizes that she cannot even move her body. Another screen appears stating that she still needs to meet the conditions to activate System Time of Choice. She realizes that this message is exactly like the one she saw in her dream. The choices will be determined by the player's actions. She then realizes that she can move again now, and her choices are determined by her actions. As she looks at her father, she thinks it is a look that says if she doesn't like it, why doesn't she squirm like a worm? She exactly does that. He extends his hands towards her. She gives him a flower, to which he says that he never thought he would see Alyssa flowers in this season. He decides to change the name and mentions that the child's name will be Alyssa G. Dravane. Iris congratulates her. She ponders. No way did she win against that stubborn father. Conditions has been met and the character's rank is evolving. The character information window is being updated. Potential abilities are now unlocked. Character information for extra is that the name is Elisa, the rank is extra, the gender is female, and age is 3 months current. Her faith is that on her 9th birthday she will be tragically killed by her out-of-control father. She thinks if the part about being killed by her out-of-control father and the detail about being torn apart being added, another screen appears, stating that on her 9th birthday she will be horrifically torn apart and killed by her out-of-control father. She thinks it is so detailed and kind that it makes her teary. She then thinks about the name Drivian, thinking that she feels like she has heard that name before, wondering where was it. She then thinks about the dragon pattern on the brooch. She wonders if it could be that the Dravane who was said to have descended from dragons. The Duke of Dravane household, a family of the highest prestige in the Empire, known for inheriting the blood of dragons and possessing extraordinary abilities. She knew it, of course. They had to have something special. As a dimensional traveler, she deserves at least this much of a buff. She wonders what else did she read about them. The Dravane family has many secrets, most of which are related to the side effects of their overwhelmingly powerful dragon blood. For instance, if someone from another family bears a child of the Dravane lineage, they will suffer throughout the pregnancy, and eventually die shortly after giving birth. Even those within the Dravane family are not exempt from this. There have been cases where family members could not withstand their own power and ended up losing control. So her mother must have died giving birth to her, and the reason her father might end up killing her. He says now that the Dravane child has been named. They must hold a modest celebration. Heartless states that she is absolutely right. He states that no, he said the wrong thing, and he forgot that he could not even celebrate the child's birth because he was away at war. In honor of the birth of the Draven family's first daughter, they should prepare a grand and lavish banquet. He asks them how much time will they need. They respond, "It depends on the guest list." His Grace wishes to invite. He says that they should make it a month, as Alice says all right. He looks at her once again and mentions he will inform the head maid personally. I mean, what's the father? She thinks he did not even give her a farewell before leaving. She notices something in his hand, wondering if he's holding the brooch from earlier, thinking maybe he's surprisingly shy. It's been a week since she was named, and now she's pretending to sleep because her father keeps visiting unannounced, thinking why does he keep coming to stare at her sleeping face. He asks her what is her name. She wonders could he have realized that someone else is inhabiting his daughter's body. It turns out that he was asking Uren about the name. He tells her that he heard that while he was away, she and Lady Eris took care of her. She responds that is correct and questions why is he asking that. Alicia wishes for her to be confident and that it's okay. He asks her that while looking after her, did she display any unusual behavior? She responds that what does he mean to ask her what kind of behavior is he referring to. He tells her to speak clearly. She becomes rarely taken aback as she apologizes. She tells him she is not sure exactly what kind of unusual behavior His Grace is referring to, asking him if he can clarify. He ponders. That is not it. She needs to respond decisively. All of a sudden, he tells her that she is unfit to be a maid of the Draven family. He tells her to leave the mansion for tomorrow. She becomes really scared as a screen pops up. She ponders another message has appeared, realizing this is not the time for that, and she is going to get her kicked out without the fight. She becomes aware that she needs to find something useful. The screen says that condition is not met to activate the system. Time to choose. She realizes that her body is not moving and she has to protect the maid somehow. The screen says that her actions will determine the available choices. She grabs her toy and throws it away. The master stares at her as she ponders that steering won't scare her at all as she has already gotten used to that icy glare. She pouts in anger and looks at Uren. She wishes for her to hold her. Right then she realizes that she is about to fall, but before that, Uren holds on to her and tells her to be careful as it is dangerous. As she holds her, she looks at the Duke. She questions inside who does he think he is to fire her maid, as Uren is much more precious to her than he could ever be. He mentions it seems that she is quite fond of her. The maid responds thankfully it is the case. He then tells her to lay his daughter back on the bed and step aside. She becomes worried, thinking if he is still thinking about firing the maid. He tells her he means to ask her to step aside so he and Alyssa can be alone for a moment. She tells him she understands. Alyssa realizes that he's not firing her. Thinking that is a relief, as he steps back inside, she looks at him with anger, wondering that he's trying to get rid of her precious maid. She'll make sure to get back at him when she's older. He extends his fist towards Sir Dot. She thinks if he dares to hit or pinch her, she won't stand for it. But then instead of doing that, he gives her the brooch. She wonders if that is the brooch. He says that he has already prepared a separate gift for the celebration, but it would not be right to give her nothing until then. He tells her this is a special gift for her. He clears his throat and then tells his child it would be a problem if rumors spread that the only daughter of the family did not receive a single gift from her parents. She is confused and wonders why is he worried about something like that. But then her thoughts shift, making her angry because someone who thinks about the family's reputation would not name their daughter Alyssa. She thinks, how dare he try to deceive her with such an obvious lie. His narrowed eyes connect with her accusing ones. He then releases a sigh and says he doesn't even know what he's saying in front of a child who doesn't understand. Alyssa thinks that is a relief. She is now aware that she is behaving childish in the body of a baby. The maid has an odd look on her face as she asks her, what is this? Could it be that it was given to her by her father? It's a beautiful brooch, she believes, to give something like this. It seems like the master really cherishes her. And points out, seeing the unique craftsmanship of this brooch, it must be a very precious item for sure. Alyssa does not know why it was given to her, though she's glad that Uren seems to have regained her spirits. She believes it is only natural, since the dismissal has been cancelled. In a flashback, she flinched and turned around when she heard her father's voice, who pointed out it seems that his daughter is quite fond of her and ordered her to observe her more. He also appreciated it and instructed her to take care of the princess more sincerely from now on. Alyssa is confused about what suddenly came to his mind, but the least she believes could do is be grateful about it. She remarks, "This brooch, no matter how one looks at it, seems to have been crafted by another race. Her statement confuses Elisa, who looks at her with wide eyes, so Urine explains this is the first brooch she has seen with such uniquely finished edges. She further continues that the approach really suits her, making her want to stop her now. Now she takes back what she said about being grateful. Time flows quickly and passes. The day of her birth celebration has come. The maids are talking to each other, which disturbs Elisa, who wakes up because of noise. They all run to her, realizing she has woken up. She reveals during this time she succeeded in flipping over. In fact, even short sentences can be spoken clumsily. However, she knows it would be troublesome if she gets caught being different from others, so she's holding back until she grows up a little more. The maids point out how the young lady can now flip over quite well. They all then share a knowing look and decide now that she's ready. It's time for her to get ready, startling her. They bathe her and get her ready amid the chaos and rush. By the time they're done, her golden hair gleams and her eyes appear more defined. At some point, she drifts off to sleep, only to wake with a sudden jolt, startled by the realization that she had slept at all. When did that even happen? She wonders. However, Iris's voice breaks through her thoughts, who says she was just about to wake her, but she's already gotten up. Alyssa flinches when her gaze connects with Iris, who asks her if she slept well. Then her attention shifts to his excellently standing at a distance. She tells him she will go out and get ready and hands Alyssa over to him. She requests him not to hug her too tightly as the young lady is fragile. He assures her not to worry as he gently holds her in his arms, asking if she thinks he cannot control his strength to that extent. Alyssa is flabbergasted, unable to believe her father is holding her. She wonders where did everyone go. Surely she's not going to be hugged by her father when she enters later and pleads with anyone to tell her that is not the case. But as she thinks hard, she starts to remember how Eris told Urine last night to keep in mind that the entrance of the young lady will be with His Excellency. So that together meant that she would enter while being held by her father. With a frown, she thinks her nannies should have been more precise about such important matters. She releases a sigh thinking there's nothing she can do about what has already been decided. Also, it seems like they've gotten a bit closer recently, so it should be fine. However, the biggest problem right now is not that but this person's hugging posture, which is too uncomfortable for her. She wants to tell him that if he's going to hold the baby, he should place the neck at the fold of his arm and properly support it. Not able to take it anymore, she starts screaming and thrashing in his arms, making him question if she's hungry. He doesn't get the hint, leaning in closer. His eyes roam all over her as he states, according to Eris, she should be fine for about 2 hours. She wants to tell him she is not hungry and to just support her neck properly. He, however, mistakes her struggle for discomfort with the diaper and asks if she peed or pooped. Tears of frustration well up and stream down her face. No, she thinks, bewildered. Why is the conversation suddenly going in that direction? 5 minutes have passed, and now she has suddenly gotten quiet, making him worried. He questions was it just a temporary whim? She thinks it is already hard, so he can think whatever he wants. However, then his demeanor shifts. He looks alarmed as he looks down at her and asks if she's feeling sick. She looks at him like she's actually scared of his mind and wonders what kind of nonsense he keeps spouting. He suddenly rises up with her in his arms, stating now that he thinks about it, she seems less energetic than earlier. She thinks that is because she has been struggling too much. She even contemplates if she should just pretend to be crazy and say it out loud. Just as he reaches for the doorknob, the door swings open and Iris stands before him. She is startled to see him and informs him the banquet will start soon. Where is he going? He tells her she came at the right time as it seems that Alyssa is sick. He points out, doesn't her expression look very painful right now? Urging her to quickly call the waiting doctor. Eris requests him to wait a moment and let her check her first. She gently takes him in her arms and tells him to rest assured the young lady is in good health. However, he is surprised and points out that she was crying. Eris points out it seems she was uncomfortable because he hugged her too tightly, though he is not ready to admit it, saying she was struggling and crying even before the tight hug. She continues that it seems the hugging position was uncomfortable for her. The young lady struggles, so he needs to support her neck properly when he hugs her. He finds it strange because he made sure she was in a stable position so that Alyssa wouldn't fall. She changes the topic with a smile on her face. She tells him it is almost time to enter, so he should hug the young lady again. This time she teaches him personally how to hold her and then reminds him the signal will come in 10 minutes so he can enter them. She then puts on the brooch on Alyssa while she thinks it must be annoying, but he's doing well as he learned. He whispers babies require more attention than he thought. She glances up at him with those wide eyes of hers. They enter the hall, stepping into view of the crowd, and all attention shifts to them the moment they enter. A voice booms through the air, declaring, the star of today's banquet, Princess Alyssa Dravane is entering.